Please welcome Ewan Downie, CEO, President and Director of Premier Gold Mines Limited, with his presentation Progressing the Hardrock Project. S'il vous plaît, veuillez accueillir Ewan Downie, CEO, Président et Directeur de Premier Gold Mines Limited, qui présente le projet Progressing the Hardrock.
Hi, it's great to be here to talk about our Hardrock project. Hardrock for Premier is one of our company's major projects that we're working. It's here in northwestern Ontario, and we hope it's a big part of the future of northwestern Ontario. The first slide here, I have to put up a standard disclaimer statement. I urge you to read that at a future time. I'll give you a bit of an introduction about Premier. Premier is a Thunder Bay-based company. We're the only company in Thunder Bay who trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange that has their office here in Thunder Bay, their head office. The company has been here since its inception in 2006. The company was formed as a spin-out out of a company that I formed called Wolf Den Resources. The company is focused entirely on North America. We're Canada, US. We have one project in Mexico as well, and we're quite active on all of the projects right now. The company has 3 core projects. These projects are in Ontario, one in Geraldton area, or the Greenstone region, which is our Hardrock, and which is part of our Trans-Canada property. We also have a project with GoCorp in Red Lake. We're drilling underground at the Red Lake mine. That's our Rayhill Bonanza joint venture property. And lastly, we have a pretty major property in Nevada called the Cove Project, where we're looking for gold and base metals as well and having some pretty significant success. We are a company who's been very actively building a management team that's not only capable of doing exploration but building mines. We've attracted a number of people to the company from Agnico Eagle, who have a very strong history in building what is one of today's major mining companies with multiple mines around the world. We are a company that has significant gold resources in all of our projects and advancing those towards development. We focused on projects that are road accessible with power lines, that being very key for potential future mine development. And we have a very strong balance sheet. We're currently sitting on approximately $70 million in cash and investments. We have some investments in other companies and a royalty company called Sandstorm. One thing I'd like to point out is that every member of our board is a shareholder, and we're all interested in seeing our company grow as we move forward, as well as our projects. The Trans-Canada property for Premier is our biggest project. In terms of expenditures in 2014, it will make up more than half of our more than $30 million budget. The Hardrock deposit is the core deposit of 4 that make up Trans-Canada, and is the one that we will be putting most of our efforts, if not all of our efforts, for the next several years as we progress it, hopefully towards development in several years. We completed a favorable preliminary economic assessment. I'd like to make sure that everybody knows that's a preliminary economic assessment. We do still have a full feasibility to do before progressing with that, permits, etc. And as the project's going now, a couple of years ago we had 11 drills on the site. We're down to 2, so we're moving away from the exploration phase into more of the engineering, environmental, and economic stage of the project, which will hopefully lead to development. Currently, we have 2 drills going on the property, doing the last part of infill drilling on the main Hardrock open pit deposit. And once we finish that, we expect to start testing a new target down the highway. There remains good upside in the region. It's a great region for exploration, and we will be drilling what we call the Bankfield West open pit target starting in the second quarter. Some of the highlights of our PEA, the preliminary economic assessment shows an open pit mine with approximately 15-year mine life. There is an underground component to the Hardrock deposit. We did not do any economics on the underground portion, solely on the open pit, producing approximately 200,000 ounces a year. It is a fairly large project, fairly capital intensive to move it forward. But the PA results were quite good using a $12.50 gold price. And obviously, as we move our project forward in the next several years, market dependent will be part of what it'll take for Premier to be successful here. The PEA does suggest the potential. I know there's been a lot in the press about need to move infrastructure. That's something that we will be working towards in the next several years, if and what parts of that infrastructure need to be moved. Some of the locally affected things would be local property owners. There's the little town site there, police station, a few other, moving the highway approximately 4.5 kilometers, and some of the golf course are all things that could be affected by the Hardrock project as it's moved forward. Just an image here. If you look at the screen, you can see the center of gravity, the starter pit as we call it, is circled in red. There's a higher grade portion. So you can't look at Hardrock and say once the project goes there's going to be this monster open pit deposit. It would start with a smaller pit and gradually expand as the mine life went on. So starter pit you can see there, but Highway 11 running down the heart of that. So the highway, it would be affected immediately, and that's something that we will have to permit and move as part of the Hardrock project. Just another image to show you what the pit sequencing would look like. This shows several different pushbacks. So we'd start with the starter pit, which is a fairly small pit, taking out some of the high-grade core of the deposit near surface, and then gradually working our way down plunge with the deeper and larger pit, and ultimately the strike length of that pit would approach approximately 800, 900 meter strike length and go down to a depth of over 400 meters. Just to give a little bit of education on what you do in mining. For those who don't know about mining, you start, first you have to strip off overburden if there is any. Here we would be moving the highway. You start with drilling and blasting, blow up the rock. That rock would be put into trucks, as you can see in image number 2. It would be hauled up a ramp system that would be built into the side of an open pit to a milling complex. At Hardrock, we envision having the mill approximately 500 meters to the west of the main pit, and that mill would crush the rock, process it, and at the end we'd hopefully be making gold doré, and that doré would be trucked for processing by Brinks, etc. A simplified mill sheet. After the mining and trucking, the ore gets crushed. Then it gets fine ore grinding, and from the fine ore it would be processed through likely something like a Nelson concentrator, and you'd see how much of the gold you could get from gravity. The rest would go through a leaching process, a CIL leaching, and from there we'd produce doré, or the remaining rock or the waste rock would be put into a tailing storage area. Currently, if you go drive by Geraldton, the visitor center is built on top of the old dry stack tailings from the historic mining. One thing that they did historically is some of the tailings from the Little Long Lac mine and the original Hardrock mine were put in the lake. That's something that every director in our company would go to jail for today. So it's something very frowned upon. And there's a big permitting process to go through, and we have to ensure that we're going to protect the environment as part of the Hardrock project, and that's quite important for us as we move forward, and will be part of all of our near-term environmental studies, and when we go into the EA, we'll be looking at mitigating our effects on the environment all the way through. A mine like Hardrock, it's not a small operation. It would be a fairly large operation. There's many employment opportunities that come out of mining. I think if you look at Red Lake and Marathon, if it wasn't for mining, it wouldn't have been towns there. And there's a lot of opportunities ranging from directly working on the ground in the mine to working support, administrative, accounting. So these are just some of the images of some of the employment opportunities. You can get the training, either training would be done on site at the mine or it's done at places like Confederation College or other similar institutions. There's grader operators needed, trucking, people to drive trucks with the ore, people working in the mill, mechanics, welders. There's a number of expertise, electricians that we need for this property. for a mine like Hardrock. In total, our PEA suggests that we need approximately 340 full-time personnel working here. That doesn't include seasonal and hourly, so there'd be additional employment for needed seasonally or for special projects. There'd be a lot of contractors used for certain areas of the property, so a lot of spin-off opportunities in addition to just 340 jobs. We estimate approximately 200 of those jobs would be working directly in the open pit mine, 70 working in the process plant, and 65 in general and admin around the operation. There's many training opportunities, a lot of training actually done on site when mines move forward to production. Companies like Premier would like to see a lot of our employees come from the local communities. A mine like Musselwhite, they have to fly their people in and out, and a lot of those people come from the East Coast or the West Coast or all over Canada where that mine. But we're the people who live in the green region. That's one of the things that we happen at Hardrock. One, it makes it easier for the mining company. You have more loyal personnel rather than if you're getting flown into Musselwhite and you have an opportunity where you can stay downtown Collingwood and work in a mine. I think the choice wouldn't be too great which one you'd rather be at. So Greenstone's a great community, has golf courses, a lot of fishing, so it offers a lot to people rather than flying into a mine, not if there's anybody from Goldcorp here, not putting down Musselwhite, but when you have to fly people in and you're stuck there really until there's a plane that comes in and gets you. And I did a lot of work at Musselwhite before it became a mine, and I really liked the place. But there's multiple training opportunities. I won't go through every single one, but you can see here some of the current training opportunities available. There's many courses and programs that can lead to mining. I was asked a question as I walked in about geologist becoming a geologist, and I said, if you're going to become a geologist, you can also look at business, because being a geologist can lead to many other opportunities, and I think getting trained to work in a mine can lead to many opportunities outside mining, and getting that expertise is critical. The site layout that you can see here, it might be hard to see for those who don't know the region too well, but this isn't reaching. The milling complex and mine are essentially where the head frame is right now. When you drive into Geraldton, the head frame that marks the entrance, the turnoff into Geraldton, that is the center of gravity of the open pit operation. The mill complex in our PEA is located approximately 500 meters to the west, and the tailings compound approximately 5 kilometers to the south. And all of the work is being done, environmental baseline work, et cetera, to move forward with an EA and hopefully permitting of this project in the coming years. The waste rock pile would be immediately south of the pit, and we'd be doing everything we could to make our footprint in the area as small as possible. And if you look at Agnico Eagle, who many of our development team came from, and look at their operations, they've really made a big effort to minimize their footprint of their mines and make them something that they're right in the town of Val-d'Or, and you drive by it, you see a head frame, and that's almost all you notice of there being a mine there. It's not stuff all over the place, and that's something I think we're going to work towards as we advance this project in the coming years. The economic benefits of mining, I think, are great. With the forestry industry having stalled in northwestern Ontario in most recent years, a lot of mills, such as the one in Long Lac, White River, et cetera, have shut down. There's pretty high unemployment around these areas, and I think there's a lot of talk about how the Ring of Fire was going to be the savior of the region. It's now being put on hold. The Marathon project's being put on hold. So we are continuing to move Hardrock forward, and as I said, it's our #1 project for the company. So I'd like to just assure the people here that we're doing everything possible to make this a successful project moving forward. We have regional offices in Geraldton. We have our community relations office right on Main Street, Geraldton. We've got properties that we rent, houses that we put our employees in. We've had some of our geologists move there on a full-time basis. So our people who are working there have committed to the region and committed to the project. And that's something that we've really put in place, is that if you want to work with our company, you have to make the region a commitment as well. And that's the way we kept our full-time team that run the project, our people who have made the commitment to be there in the community and be a part of the community. The regulatory process for us moving forward is going to be critical. One thing we do need to see is a good timeline towards development. Currently, the PA is forming the basis of our project description that we're going to be moving forward with. The PA, as I mentioned earlier, is a preliminary economic assessment. We are moving to feasibility at the end of this drill program. This spring, the project description will be submitted to federal and provincial governments, and that'll kick off the environmental assessment process. We've been able to use a lot of baseline work. Barrick did a really good job when they did the cleanup of maintaining a record of the effect of the historic mine on the water, the region. So we've been able to use all of that data as we've moved forward with our baseline and environmental work. We're hopefully demonstrating that our project, what we've done to date, has had zero new effects on the environment. And we're hoping this work will help ensure that the mine design avoids and mitigates environmental impacts, as I mentioned earlier. In the fall of 2015, we're hoping to have a successful completion of that EA, and that will lead to the submission for a formal permitting process of the Hardrock mine project. Currently, if people have seen the drills we have around town, these boxes you see in yellow are areas of our resource that are qualified as inferred. So the PEA study could be done on inferred and indicated ounces. These are just two categories. It depends on the detail of drilling that you've done in those areas to build those resources. But you can't do a feasibility study on inferred resources. So the most of our drill program over the past, since August 9th of last year, has been on infilling that resource to ensure that what we think is there is there. That will lead to a new resource estimate that will be completed in Q2 of this year, and that resource estimate will be used for our final feasibility. We expect to work the rest of the year in doing that full feasibility study, the one that we'd hope to take to a bank at the end of the day and say we need this much money to build this mine, and here's the economics, and it demonstrates strong economics at acceptable gold prices. And so we expect to have that feasibility study completed in the first half of 2015. The anticipated project timeline, this is the one that we submitted with the PEA. This could change as time moves on, but right now, if everything falls into place as we hope that in the fourth quarter of 2015, I'll be in a position to sit in front of Premier's Board of Directors and ask for the approval to move this forward to a production decision. And that production decision will be based on having the environmental permits in place. So the permitting is critical to that timeline, and also having the financing lined up to do that. That would allow construction to start in 2016 with production in 2017. I will say that during the construction phase, there's actually more jobs, and they're temporary. A lot of those are temporary jobs in the construction phase, but it would make, I think, Geraldton a pretty bustling place, and that's our vision for this project, is to help make all of Northwestern Ontario benefit from what we're doing at Hardrock. The next steps, as I mentioned, we're proceeding with the baseline environmental work. That will continue throughout 2014. We're working quite closely with the local communities, government, and the local First Nation communities also, Aboriginal interests as well. And this submission of the EA for mine approval is expected to be submitted this year. We've just let the contract for that EA studied the environmental work recently. The optimization work of this mine, looking at how this would be best built, what it would provide the best economics that would be beneficial for the region and for our shareholders, and minimizing capital and operating costs. That detailed engineering will be completed under the supervision of Eric Lamontagne, who many people here may have met. Works for us out of Quebec, but a very strong mine builder. Several years back, he built the Meadowbank mine, an open pit mine in Canada's Arctic, in Nunavut. So he's got a lot of experience with these type of mines. He also ran the Troilus mine in Quebec, an open pit mining operation that operated through the early 2000s, and a very strong candidate to be the guy running this project for us going forward. We continue our formal engagement work based on the PEA information with the local property owners. We've had meetings in the community, being supported by the mayor, et cetera, and really tried to be as open as possible about what this operation would mean to local property owners, because there are some housing owners that would be affected by this operation. There's many Aboriginal groups that we deal with, and obviously the municipality of Greenstone as well. One thing I would like to point out is at that last point in that slide is that secure financing for this mine, and that's critical for Premier to move this project, is securing finances. Building a mine in northwestern Ontario isn't, I'd say, something that's easy. There are numerous challenges around moving a mine towards development. I think we've seen that. Some things being played out in the press, et cetera, in recent years. I actually had a few problems with how my wording in some of the recent interviews I had that were put in the newspaper were portrayed compared to what I really said. So there are substantial challenges even in the press. But there are uncertainties in Ontario right now, and those are uncertainties that are real and are certainties we have to overcome if we're going to be successful here. The permitting timelines, I think, recently are maybe a bit more unclear in Ontario compared to what they were years back, and Ontario has dropped in terms of its rankings as best places in the world to be a mine, and it's partially because of uncertainties. There are land issues and First Nation treaty rights we have to go through that are more prominent today than they were years ago. There's a need for sustained government support infrastructure. Is there enough power in Hardrock in Geraldton area or in Greenstone to support the Hardrock project? That's something we're going to be working through over the next year. And there needs to be sufficient power to run that mill. So if there isn't, that could delay that timeline or even put the project off entirely. The critical need for the support of all local communities is what I feel is most important, and what I call teamwork. The success of Hardrock becoming a mine in Geraldton is not just solely on what Premier does, it's what the people in the community of Geraldton do. We need to see support from all local communities, and that is the community of Geraldton and all First Nation groups. We need that support. We need the government to support this. If we don't have everybody on board, everybody benefiting from this operation, it won't be a reality. And one of those groups that needs to benefit from it is the shareholders of Premier, because in reality, we need our shareholders to build this mine. And that's where this slide, where I talk about the challenges for Premier. We need to see a clear path for production at Hardrock. Premier is a company that I think we're fairly well known in Thunder Bay and region now, but we don't have any producing mines. We have no income. And that's something that's sometimes hard. People say, hey, you're a gold mining company. We're a gold exploration development company hoping to become a mining company. And so right now we have no income. So we don't have the money in the bank to build Hardrock. We'll need to go to banks, shareholders, et cetera, and raise those funds. And to get to that point, we'll rely on the support of our shareholders and local stakeholders to be on board for that to happen. Completing a feasibility study still needs to be done before we make any decisions on moving houses or moving highways. The PEA was favorable, but we still need that full feasibility study to ensure that the project is feasible for the company. And last but not least is securing permits for the actual mine construction. Until we have permits in hand saying, yes, we have go-ahead, we can't actually go to our board and get board approval to move this forward. So we need substantial government support for this to happen. We do feel we've been getting very good support out of the local governments, and they've helped us to continue to move this property forward. We need a clear and timely permitting process. These decisions on these permits need to be done on a timely basis. Every month they stall the project another month. So, and the critical need, I can't stress this enough, of the support of all communities. And something that we've seen in the past couple of years is challenging market conditions. We've seen the gold price drop from $19.50 down to $11.50 not too long ago. At $11.50, the economics for a property like Hardrock were very marginal. So we need the gold price to stay up in order for this to go ahead, and those market conditions will allow us to or not to raise the funds in order to build an operation here. The total operating and sustaining cost to build and run a mine like Hardrock would be in the range of $2.3 billion. That would be from upfront capital, mining, processing, administration, sustaining capital. So pretty healthy number. It's not a small dollar figure. The upfront capital for the construction of Hardrock is estimated at $411 million. We have, as I mentioned earlier, $70 million in the bank, but by the time we get to feasibility, we'll probably be down in the $35 million. So you can see there's a gap there, and that gap will need to be filled by through raising funds in the market and or various debt and equity raising to make the mine a reality. And at the end of the day, it may involve a partnership. We did have a partnership offer to assist us in building Hardrock. It wasn't one that we felt was one sufficient to generate positive returns for our shareholders for us to enter into, but it just shows that there are bigger parties who are interested in what we're doing here. And hopefully that continues, because if the more challenging the market conditions, the more partnerships may be needed for this to happen. And our plan here would be to start with a 10,000 ton a day operation at $411 million, but 2 years in we'd be looking at a mill expansion. That mill expansion would be well over $150 million as well. So it's a second level of capital that would be needed to be invested in this project before we get payback. And the payback on the capital that we estimate in our PEA was nearly 4 years. So assuming we start operation in 2017, the company and its shareholders would not see a return until at least 2021, 2022. So that's the commitment we have to make for this project to happen. It's one that we are planning to make, and is one that we're committed to see this project continue to move forward. And I thank you all for attending the presentation, and hope to see your continued support for this project moving forward. We will, anybody who has further questions is welcome to contact our team in Geraldton. We do have a community relations office there, or call our office in Thunder Bay, myself, Matt. We can get you through to our mine development team, Eric, and etc. We're quite open to talking about the project, and thank you all for attending.
On behalf of the municipality of Greenstone, I think this is probably where it's the most fitting in all the ones that we've given out. And it's a dream catcher. What do you think? Do we all agree with that? I think for us here, for Greenstone, for Premier, it's not a dream. We want to see this happen. And it talks a lot about what we heard all day and yesterday, and what you've talked about. We got to, this is what it represents. It represents good working relationships, and Premier has been an excellent company with Greenstone in keeping us informed and keeping us going, knowing where you're going. Trust, communication. So with that being said, Ewan, thank you very much, and best of luck for you and for us. Thank you.